Welcome to episode 2 of Quality Quant Questions. This is week 2. The topic we'll be handling this time is percentages. First question. In a test, the pass percentage was 35%. A student who wrote it got to 30 marks and failed by 15 marks. Find the maximum mark in the test. Okay, so the student who scored to 30 marks needed 15 more in order to reach the passing mark, and passing mark is 35% of total. So we get to 245 into 100 by 35 is equal to the total. So fairly straightforward. 35 cancels with 245 to give us 7. 7 into 100. Our total turns out to be option A, 700. Okay. Next. Ashok secured 70% of the votes polled in an election and was elected by a majority of 168 votes. All the votes polled were valid. Find the number of votes polled if there were only 2 contestants. So if there were only 2 contestants, Ashok got 70% of the votes. So his opponent must have got 30% of the votes because there were only 2 contestants. Ashok got 70%, opponent got 30%. The difference between this is 40% of votes polled. And this is also told to us as Ashok was elected by a majority of 168 votes. So 40% of votes, total votes, is equal to 168, or total votes will be equal to 168 into 100 by 40. Cancel gets us to 42. Or the total votes polled will be 420. Next question now. Ravi's salary before he got an increment of 20% was 20% of total income of his family. His increment was 1/4 of his salary after the increment. Okay, what percentage of total income of his family is his new salary? Okay, this is interesting. See, Ravi's salary previously was 20% of total, and his increment was 1/4 of his salary after increment. So let's say after increment, his salary was 4x. So before increment, his salary should be 3x. And previously his salary was 20% of total income. So total income previously was 15x. Now, sorry, not total income, total income of his family. And this is Ravi's salary. Ravi's salary after increment, if it was 4x, previously it was 3x. So that the increment of x is 1/4 of his salary after increment. Now, previously his income was total income of the family was 15x because Ravi's salary before he got an increment was 20%. So 5 times of his salary was total income of the family. Now that Ravi's salary has increased, total income of the family will also increase by the same margin, x, 16x. So now his share as a percentage of the total income of the family will be given by 4 by 16 into 100, or as 25%. Answer to the question is 25. Next, a student secured 38% of the total marks in an exam and gets 18 marks more than the pass marks. A student secures 27% of the total marks in the same exam and fails by 37 marks. What is the pass mark as a percentage of the total marks? Now see how we can interestingly see this is 38% and 27%. Purely in terms of percentage, the gap is of 11%. And the pass mark is somewhere here. Pass mark. 38% scorer, the student who scored 38% had 18 more, and the person who had 27% marks had 37 less. So can I say 11% of total marks is equal to 11% of total marks is equal to 37 plus 18 or 55? 11% of total is equal to 55, or 11 by 100 into t is equal to 55. T is equal to 55 into 100 by 11. Cancel 5 gets us to 500. So the total marks is 50%. Sorry, total marks is 500. If total marks is 500, 27% marks is 135, or 38% marks is how much? 140 into 5, 200. So 190. Now 190 is 18 more than the pass marks. So I can get to 172, or 37 more than 135. So either case, pass mark is 172. Now, if the pass mark is 172, finally we are asked to calculate what is the pass mark as percentage of total marks. It will be 172 by 500 into 100. Cancel. 172 by 5 gets us to 34.4. Or the answer to the question is option C. Next question. In 2001, the transportation cost of an item was 30% of its manufacturing cost. From 2001 to 2002, its manufacturing cost went up by 20%. Its transportation cost in 2002 was 1/3 of its manufacturing cost in that year. By what percent should the total cost in 2002 be reduced to bring it back to that in 2001? Total cost is equal to manufacturing cost and transportation cost. Okay, so lots of information given here. How we work is this. In 2001, let's say the manufacturing cost and the transportation cost. So the transportation cost of an item was 30% of its manufacturing cost. If the manufacturing cost was 3x, the transportation cost was, if the manufacturing cost is 10x, transportation cost is 3x, or the total cost will be 13x. Now in 2002, something has happened. What has happened? From 2001 to 2002, its manufacturing cost went up by 20%. So it has increased by 2x. It has become 12x. Its transportation cost in 2002 was 33, 1/3 of its manufacturing cost in that year. The transportation cost was 1/3 of this. 1/3 of this is 4x. So the total cost in 2002 is 16x. Now the question is asking me finally, by what percent should the total cost in 2002 be reduced to bring it back to that in 2001? By what percentage should 16x be reduced so that it comes back to 13x? It should be reduced by 3x. But we need the answer in percentage terms. So this is the final figure we work with. X and x gone. This becomes 4. This becomes 25. We finally get 75 by 4, or we get 18.75 as the answer, or option C is the correct choice. Next one. A school has 2,000 students, out of which 40% of the students are in higher secondary. Out of the students in higher secondary, 28% are girls and 50% of them passed. The overall pass percentage in the higher secondary is 40%. How many boys passed? Okay. So there are 2,000 students in school, out of which higher secondary is 40%. 40% of 2,000 is 800. and not higher secondary is 1200. Out of the students in higher secondary, 28% are girls. So 28 into 8, 20 into 8 is 160, 8 into 8 is 64, 160 plus 64, so 224 are girls. So the remaining 576 are boys. 576 are boys. Now, 28% are girls and 50 of them passed. 50% of them passed. So out of these, 112 passed and 112 failed. But we are also told the overall pass percentage in higher secondary is 40%, which means out of higher secondary, 320 have to pass. Out of this 320, 112 have already been accounted for here. Out of these 320, 112 are females that are passing. So the boys that should be passing should be 208. 208 boys should be passing. And how many failed, we don't really care for, because this is the final metric we need. How many boys passed is asked. The number of boys passed will be 208. This is more than calculation. This is simply how you record information appropriately so that the breakage becomes easier to comprehend. Next, in a certain month, the total income of A, B, C is 6,44,000. In that month, A spends 75% of his income, B spends 80% of his income, and C spends 62.5% of his income. The ratio of amount spent by A, B, C in that month is 42 is to 64 is to 55. Find the income of A in the month. Okay. Now see how we should be working here. These percentage figures are good numbers. We should know these numbers. First, only looking at A and B. So let's say his income for them, 75% means 3 by 4. So let the income be 4x here. 80% means 4 by 5. So let the income here be 5y. And C spends 62.5% of his income, which means 62.5% is 5 by 8. So let his income be 8z. So 4x, 5y, and 8z, we have taken their incomes. So the expenditures that they have will be 3x and 4y and 5z. Now we are given the ratio of amount spent by A, B, C in the month. So only looking at A, B right now, 3x by 4y is equal to 42 by 64. Cancel, cancel, 16, cancel, cancel, 14, or x by y is equal to 7 by 8. This we know. Additionally, let's look at the first number and the last number also. 3x by 5z is equal to 42 by 55. So cancel, cancel, 11, cancel, cancel, 14. X by z is equal to 14 by 11. Now we can go back to x by y and turn it to 14 by 16. So I can replace x with 14k. I can replace y with 16k, and I can replace z with 11k, which would mean their incomes will now become 14 into 4, 56k. For B, it will turn to 80k. And for C, it will turn to 88k. These are the ratio of their incomes. These are the ratio of their incomes. 56k, 80k, and 88k. So we can simplify this further. We can simplify 56, 80, and 88. All of them are divisible by 8. So I will have 7 is to 10 is to 11. 7 is to 10 is to 11. or finally we are supposed to find out the income of A. So income of A is going to be 7 parts out of 7 plus 10 plus 11 out of 28 parts of the total income, which is 6,44,000. Cancel, cancel, 4, cancel, cancel, 16, 1, 1, 2, 3. The answer to the question will be 1,61,000 will be the income of A in totality. A good way to work here is working with 75%, 80%, 62.5%. If you take your variable or the initial expressions in the right way, your subsequent work becomes easier to accomplish. Okay. The success rate at one stage of the Indian cricket team in Australia was 25% from 60 matches. Okay. So out of the initial 60 matches, their success rate was 25%. So 15 they won and 45 they lost. Okay. If India lost the next 12 matches, later on, next 12 matches, they have managed to reach 72 matches, next 12 matches. India has still only won 15 matches and lost 57 matches, 57 lost. What was the minimum number of total matches that were played if the overall success rate of India was 50%? If the overall success rate of India was 50%, the number of victories and number of losses have to be identical. If the overall success rate of India was 50%, the number of victories and number of losses have to be identical. So, in order to reduce the number of matches, we would want India to win all their subsequent matches and manage to reach from 15 wins, it should reach 57 wins. From 15 wins, it should reach 57 wins. Or we need 42 more wins. We need 42 more wins. And you can only win in a match. So we need 72 matches you're already at. We need 42 more matches. Or total number of matches will be 114. The other way you could have also done it was, once you figured out the losses, number of losses is 57. Because the success rate is 50%, the total number of matches will simply be twice of that. That way you can reach 114. In either case, the answer will be 114 only. Next, in 2000, the market shares of the toilet soaps Margot, Palmolive, and Dove were 40%, 30%, 30% respectively. Starting from next year, a new soap enters the market each year and gets 10% of the total market share in that year. The existing soaps in that year share the market in the same ratio as they did in the previous year. What percent of the total market share will Margot have in 2002? Okay. So let's see. In 2000, Margot, Palmolive, and Dove, they had shares of 40, 30, and 30. In 2001, we still have Margot, we still have Palmolive, and we still have Dove. But new entrant one has come in, and he has taken away 10% of the market. Because he has taken away 10% of the market, these people have only got 90% of the market. Previously, these three had the entire market, 100% of the market. Now these people have 90% of the market. Out of the 90% of the market, the ratio in which they have market shares is still 4:3:3. 4:3:3. So 4 by 10 of 90. 4 by 10 of 90 gets us to Margot would have 36% of the market here. Palmolive would have 27% of the market here, which is obtained by 3 by 10 into 90. And Dove would also have 27% of the market. This is the state in 2001. Now, what would happen in 2002? Now, see, in 2002, there is an extra zero here. We have Margot, Palmolive, Dove, new entrant 1, and new entrant 2. New entrant 1 and new entrant 2, because we are told starting from next year, a new soap enters the market each year. Every year, a new entrant comes into the market. Now, this new entrant has got 10% market share. And previously, all four of them together had 100% of the market. All four of them together had 100% of the market. But now, all four of them will only have 90% of the market because 10% has been occupied by the new entrant. If 90% is given here, how much will Margo have out of it? 36 out of 100 it had. 36 out of 100 it had. So 36 by 100 into 90% is the share that Margo will now have. So this gone, this gone. 36 into 9 is 36 into 9 is 324. 324 by 10 is Margo will have 32.4% share. If you want to do it for Palmolive and others as well, Palmolive will have 24.3%, which is obtained by 27 into 90 by 10. Dove and Palmolive will have precisely the same share, 24.3%. And new entrant 1, which had entered the market in 2001, will have 9% share. And altogether, all of them now have 100%. Finally, the question was, what percent of total market share will Margo have in 2002? The answer will be 32.4% or option B. Next question. At the beginning of the year, the owner of a jewel shop raised the prices of all the jewels in his shop by X%. And then the English seems a little challenging. At the beginning of the year, the owner of a jewel shop raised prices of all the jewels in his shop by X%, and then and then lowered it by X%. So previously an X% increase took place, then an X% decrease took place. Okay. The price of one jewel after this up and down cycle reduced by 100. Okay. The owner carried out the same procedure after a month. After this second up-down cycle, the price of the jewel was 2304. Find the original price of that jewel. Now, this is an extremely good question. English challenge aside, I will edit it in the file that you people receive. But this is an extremely fun question because look at this wonderful thing. Let's say the original price was P. First, it increases by X%. And then it decreases by X%. And we arrive at a price that is 100 lower. We arrive at a price that is 100 lower. Now, when the second time this is happening, original price is this now. Again, increased by 100 plus X. Then decreased by 100 minus X. And we arrive at 2304. Well, now, if we want to, we can divide the first expression by the second expression and then get a quadratic in P and then solve it. We can do all that and it will lead us to an answer. It will lead us to an answer. In fact, I will not just say it, we will solve it. First expression by the second expression. This will get cancelled, this will get cancelled, this will get cancelled, this will get cancelled. We get 2304P is equal to P square minus 200P plus A square minus B square, so plus 100,000. No, 10,000 plus 10,000 This is what we'll get, or P square minus, this comes here, 2504P plus 10,000 is equal to 0. Using middle term splitting, you will get P minus 4 into P minus 2500 is equal to 0. So P is equal to 4 or 2500. After two such up-down cycles, if the price is reaching 2304, of course, the initial price cannot be 4. So this is gone. This is the initial price that we are dealing. If we can see this, it is great. If we can see this, it is great. We can solve it technically this way. The more interesting thing that you can see is, see the multiplicative impact that is happening every time of your increase and your decrease. Now, this insight is useful to know. If you're increasing an item by some percent and reducing it by the same percent, the new value obtained is lower than the initial one. Or see, from P to P minus 100 we have got. And how have we got that? I'm saying when I multiplied P with K, I reached P minus 100. When I multiplied this entire expression, 100 plus x by 100 and 100 minus x by 100, I'm calling this entire thing is K. When I multiplied P with K, I got P minus 100. And when I multiplied P minus 100 by K again, when I multiplied P minus 100 by K again, I got 2304. So let's say the new price here is 2304. The drop here is of 100. Compulsorily, the drop here has to be less than 100. Compulsorily, the drop here has to be less than 100, because previously a large number was getting multiplied by K. Now a smaller number is getting multiplied by K. So the drop has to be less than 100. So can I say, if I was simply looking for range of values for P, can I say P has to be less than equal to 2304 plus 200? From here to here, it is something less than 100. From here to here, it is 100. So P has to be something less than 2304 plus 200, or it has to be less than 2504. The value of P has to be less than 2504. Now, cursory glance at the options should tell you the only option that is possible is 2500. No other option is possible. So you could have solved this only by, if you know this percentage based manipulation idea, you can solve this without using the pen. Otherwise, of course, we also have the opportunity and availability of idea of solving it by equations. But if you can solve it without pen, even better. Next question. School A has 30% more students than School B. If 120 more students join School B, the two schools will have the same number of students. What is the sum of the number of students in School A and School B initially? Okay. A, B. School A has 30% more students. So let's say there were 13x students here and 10x students here initially. Yes. Now we're told if 120 students join School B, the two schools will have the same number of students. So what they're saying is the difference between the two schools, the difference in number of students between the two schools, 3x, is equivalent to 120, or 3x is equal to 120, or x is equal to 40. If x is equal to 40, what is the final question they're asking? What is the sum of the number of students in School A and B initially? This, in terms of x, the number of students in School A and B is 23x. We know x is equal to 40. So total number of students will be 23 into 40, or 920 in the schools initially. Okay. Next question. The monthly income of Ram increased by 26%. His expenditure, which was 70% of his monthly income, increased by 20%. His savings must have increased by. The wonderful idea of expenditure plus saving is equal to income. So initially, let his income be 100. Later, monthly income of Ram increased by 26%. So his later income has become 126. No problem at all. His expenditure, which was spent 70%, previously it was 70%, it has increased by 20%. An increase of 20% implies it has become 6 by 5 of the original self. So 70 into 6 by 5 is equal to 84. His new expenditure is 84. Okay. His savings must have increased by. Savings in the first case, 70 plus something gives me 100. So savings initially will be 30. And new savings will now be how much? 42. His new savings now will be 42. So his savings have moved from 30 to 42. There is an increase of 12 on a base of 30. This has to be represented in percentage terms. 4 into 10 gets us to 40. So his savings must have increased by 40%. Okay. A new coach was appointed in the middle of a season for a football team. After he took over, the team won 80% of the matches it played. Okay. So pay attention initially, whatever they had done. In the 60 matches that this new coach has been around for, they won 80% of the matches. So they had 48 wins and 12 losses. They had 48 wins and 12 losses. But the overall success rate of the team was only 60%. Overall success rate of the team was only 60%. Find the minimum number of matches the team must have played that season before the new coach took over. So I'm saying, if I want minimum number of matches, right now the winning percentage is 80%. We want to bring it down to 60. So in the initial phase, let all the matches that were played be losses only. Let there be 0 wins here, and whatever number of matches were played here, let them all be losses only. Which means the 60% success rate, combining these two, the 60% success rate is on account of only these 48 wins. So if 48 is equal to 60% of total matches played, cancel. Total matches played turns out to be 80. 60 matches after the coach took over. So 20 matches initially, and 20 of them were losses. All 20 matches were losses. So out of the 80 matches combined, out of the 80 matches, 48 are wins and 32 are losses. Minimum number of matches the team must have played that season before the new coach took over. The answer to the question is 20. First 20 matches, the team lost all 20 matches. Okay. To manufacture a product X, company needs raw materials, P, Q, R, and others. Okay. So P, Q, R, and others. And of course, total. The cost price of P is 10% of the total cost price of X. The cost price of each of Q and R is 20% of the total cost of X. So I'm saying let the total cost initially be 100. Initial total cost is 100. So P had 10 rupee share out of it. Q had 20 rupee share, R had 20 rupee share, and 50 rupees is accounted for. The remaining will go to others. Initially, the total cost split was this 10, 20, 20, 50. After this point, the cost of P increased by 20%. If it increased by 20%, it became 12. The cost of each of P, Q, and R increased by 10%. So these will become 22 and 22. And the total cost increased by 15%. The total cost has now become 150. There is an increase of 2 here, there is an increase of 2 here, there is an increase of 2 here. So increase of 6 has been accounted for, but overall there is an increase of 15, which means we need an increase of 9 here. The cost of others has now become 59. So they're asking me find the percentage increase in the cost of others. Others has gone from 50 to 59. The percentage change is 9 by 50 into 100, which is equal to 18%. there is an 18% increase in the cost of others. Okay. Next, gunpowder contains 75% nitrate, 10% of sulfur, and the rest is charcoal by weight. Okay. So, nitrate is 75%, sulfur is 10%, and charcoal is 15%. If the quantity of gunpowder is 24 kg, then what is the weight of the charcoal? Simplest question. We simply need to find out 15% of 24. So 3, 20, 10, 12, 36 by 10 or 3.6 kg. And this is the time when you realize that percentage questions are difficult to form. So anything and everything goes. Percentage questions are usually very straightforward. Okay. A vendor sells 30% of his fruits and throws away 40% of the rest of the fruits. Next day, he sells 50% of the remainder fruits and throws away the rest. What percent of fruits does the vendor throw away? Okay. Let's say our vendor had 100 fruits initially. So he sells 30 and left with 70. He's left with 70. Out of this 70, he throws away 40%. So 28 thrown, left 42. Next day, he sells 50% of the remainder fruits and throws away the rest. So sells 21 and the remaining 21 is thrown. What percent of the fruit does the vendor throw away? He threw away 28 here, he threw away 21 here. So 49% of the fruits he threw away. Okay. Next. If the price of a bicycle is increased by 9.09%, then by 8.33%, and then by 7.77% increased, the price becomes 1274. What is the original price of the bicycle to the nearest integer? Which means while you will reach an answer here, it will not be precisely accurate. But let's see. Now see, these numbers are supposed to be quick identifying numbers. 9.09% is as good as 1 by 11. 1 by 11. 8.33% is as good as 1 by 12. Now 7.77% is not immediately visible, but you can see, we know 1 by 9 is equal to 11.11%, and 2 by 9 is 22.22%. Can you see in this line of thinking, 7 by 9 will be equal to 77.77%, but we haven't got 77.77%. We've got one decimal place shifted. So this here points to 7 by 90 as a fraction. 7.77% is 7 by 90 as a fraction. And these are increases. So whatever the initial price was, if it has increased 1 by 11, it has become 12 by 11 times of original. If it has increased by 1 by 12, it has become 13 by 12 times of original. And if it has increased by 7 by 90, if it has increased by 7 by 90, it has become 97 by 90 times of original. And this has led to the price reaching 1274. And now we are expected to calculate the original price of the bicycle. Okay. So this goes 1274 does get cancelled out with 13. So cancel, 100 minus 2. So 98 I have got. 98 I've got. And then P will turn out to be 98 into 99 into 10 by 97. This is the final calculation that we have to engage in. This is very, very saddening because division by 97 is so problematic. But if the question demands it, let's do working. 98 into 99. 98 into 99. So 9800 minus 98. So 9702. This much we have got. 9702 by 00 divided by 97. Divided by 97. This much we have to do. Sorry, not 00. There is a single 0 here. 9702. This much we have got. This we can break down as 9700 by 97 plus 20 by 97. So we get 1000 from here and we get something less than 0.5. Less than 0.5. So 1000 plus less than 0.5. So the nearest integer to it will of course be 1000 only. And that should be the answer to the question. Okay. Now, hopefully we know these numbers 1 by 11, 1 by 12. Now see, if this question had to be framed more simply, it would be instead of 7.77%, if it had been 7.69%, our life would have been easier because 7.69% is 1 by 30. Then our calculation would have been so much nicer. P into 12 by 11 into 13 by 12 into 14 by 30. And now 12 gone, 13 gone, 13 gone. So we'd be left with P is equal to 1274 into 11 by 14. This and this will get cancelled. I get 9, I get 1. 9 and 1, 91 into 11. The original price will turn to 910 plus 91. So price would be 1001 here. Original price would be 1001 here. And the calculation would be easier to accomplish if it had been 7.69. Just the fact that this is given to us as 7.77, it becomes a little more challenging, but okay, no problem at all. Okay, this question. Whoever was writing the CAT exam, there were 4 passages of equal length in words, and they had 5, 8, 6 questions, 5, 8, 8, 6 questions respectively. Webber can answer exactly 12 questions in the time it takes to read any one of the 4 passages. Assume that his rate of reading and answering question remains the same across all 4 passages. By what rate should Webber increase his reading speed in order to cut down his total time spent by 10%? Okay. So how we record it here is, let's say for the different passages, first passage, second passage, third passage, and the fourth passage, there is some reading time involved and there is some solving time involved, solving the questions. Now there are 5 questions here. So I'm saying 5Q is the time required for solving, 8Q is the time required for solving, 8Q is the time required for solving, and 6Q is the time required for solving. And reading any of those passages, the time required for reading will be 12Q. So the total time taken for reading is 48Q. And the total time taken for reading here will be 27Q. Or the total time taken combined for doing the exam entirely is 75Q. This is the total time taken to solve the entire paper. Now, the target is by what rate should Webber increase his reading speed in order to cut down his total time spent by 10%. He has to reduce his entire total time taken by 10%. So his new total time should be 75 minus 7.5Q or 67.5Q. This should be the time that he now takes. This should be the time that he now takes. But see what has happened. See what has happened. We have to only change his reading speed, not his solving speed. Solving speed remains the same. His reading speed has to change. So if his reading speed has to be if his total time has to be 67.5, or the reduction has to be of 7.5Q, that reduction has to be equally distributed. That reduction has to be equally distributed across all the 4 passages. So time required to read a passage should now be 12Q minus 7.5Q by 4, or it should be 12Q minus 1.875Q or 10.125Q. The time required to solve a passage should now be 10.125Q and 10.125Q and 10.125Q and 10.125Q. Okay. By what rate should Vaibhav increase his reading speed? We have got 10.125Q is the time required for one passage. So he has to increase his speed by. He has to increase his speed by. See, the rate at which whatever he was previously reading, his initial rate. These are the times. These are the times. So ratio of speed new to initial will be inverse of this. His new speed will be 12 and his initial speed will be 10.125. Now 10.125 is not very convenient to see. 0.125 is 1 by 8. So we get 12 into 8 by 81. 10.125 is as good as 81 by 8. So now that we have this, I can cancel this off by 3. I can cancel this off by 3. We get 32 by 27. We get 32 by 27. So 32 by 27 purely in fractional terms will be 32 divided by 27. 127.00. So gets me to 50.1. So at this time I can say this has to be the answer, but let me work further. 230. So I get 8. 216. So 140. So 5. Ratio of new speed to initial speed is 1.185. The initial speed, if I consider it to, the ratio is 1.185 to 1. So what is the percentage increase? What is the percentage increase? Clearly the percentage increase is 18.5%. The key in this question is identifying that the reading time or the reading speed has to go up. The solving time remains the same. It is not that the solving time is also proportionately getting changed. Okay, the next question. In a stockpile of products produced by 3 machines, M1, M2, and M3, 40% and 30% were manufactured by M1 and M2 and the rest by M3. Okay, very convoluted way of saying 40, 30, 30. M1, M2, M3. 40%, 30%, and 30%. 3% of the products manufactured by M1 are defective. Okay. So now because 3% is happening, so I'm going 300, 400, 300, and 300. These many units are being manufactured. 3% of this will be 12. Defective will be 12. 1%. 1% here, so 3. And next is 95% of the products of M3 are not defective. So 5% are defective. 5% of this is 15. Okay. So now, finally, they've asked me, what is the percentage of defective products in the stockpile? Total products is 1000. Defective products is 30. So we need 30 by 1000 into 100 is what we are seeking. Cancel, 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 cancel. 3% has to be the answer. That is the entirety of this. Okay. Last question. Two lumps having mixture of gold and silver together weighs 20 kg. One lump contains 75% gold and 31.25 grams silver per kg. Okay. Another lump contains 85% gold and 30 grams silver per kg. Now see, even before you move forward, if 85% is gold, remaining 15% is silver. If 15% is silver, 30 grams silver per kg. 30 gram silver per kg is 15%. So, can the interpretation be different? But let's see. This is 30 gram. This is 15%. This 85% should be 170 gram. So then this would mean mixture has something apart from gold and silver. No? In 1 kg, I have 170 gram gold. I have 30 gram silver. But then it is not kg in entirety. Okay, so my interpretation here is flawed. Let me edit it. So I'll go in the first one out of 1000 in lump 1. Gold, silver, and something else. 75% gold per kg. So 1000 grams, 750 is gold, 31.25 is silver. So out of 250, 31.25 is gone. So 218.75 is others. In lump 2, gold is 85%. So 850 is gold, silver is 30. So others will be 120. Okay. Total quantity of silver in two lumps is 617.5 gram. $617.5. Okay. So I'm going A. Let there be A kg of this. So there will be 20 minus A kg of this because two lumps together add up to 20 kg. So 31.25 A plus 30 into 20 minus A is equal to 617.5. 617.5. Okay. The answer is D. I am unnecessarily doing nonsense here. The answer is D. I am hoping. But let's work it out maths wise. 31.25A plus 600 minus 30A is equal to 617.5, or 1.25A is equal to 17.5, or A is equal to 1750 by 125. I can cancel 1, 504. So A is 14. There is 14 kg of this, and there is 6 kg of this. So the purity of gold will be 14 into 750 plus 6 into 850 by 20 into 1000 into 100. This is the purity of final gold that we have. 14 kgs, 750 grams, 6 kgs, this, and 20 kgs of 1000 grams. So let us do maths. 1 0 1 0 1 0 1. I can also get rid of another 0 as long as I divide this by 5. So it gets to 17. Divide this by 2, gets this to 3. Divide this by 5, get to 15. Divide this by 2, get to 7. So this gone, this gone, this gone, this gone. 7 into 15 is 105. 105 plus 51. So I get 156 by 2, or finally 78. The answer to the question turns out to be 78 as is given here. Now, this is the worst way of solving this question. This is the worst way of solving this question. Because see, one wonderful thing, I have one lump containing 75% gold and the other lump containing 85%. If I mix them together, the new purity of gold has to be somewhere between these two values. The new purity of gold has to be somewhere between these two values. This is right at the boundary. This is outside the range. This is outside the range. Only this value is within this range. And therefore, this should be the answer. Visually, this should have been done. I unnecessarily extended it. Okay. That is all for this video. Hopefully, you learned something. Hopefully, something was useful for you. See, percentages is a topic. While it is a fundamental topic, you need to know percentages before you can move on to bigger and better things in QA. Questions even in percentages are difficult to form, or it is difficult to find difficult questions in percentages. So unlike the first video on numbers, this is not going to be as challenging. At the same time, this will perhaps give you the entire length and breadth of everything that can be tested in percentages. So hopefully you learned something. That will be all for this video.